future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
It's Wednesday. Tony and Carla are behind the mics and ready to bring you pure entertainment. On Air with Tony Sweet starts right now.
All right. Welcome to On Air with Tony Sweet. It's another Wednesday with us on ubnradio.com, and I'm here with the beautiful, sexy mama. We have Carla Renata.
How are you?
Hi, Carla Renata.
Hi there. I can't hear you.
You can't what?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear you at all?
No.
Are you sure? You sure it
Positive.
just wasn't the applause that people were loving
Yes, I'm
you?
positive.
All right. I'll have to-
Okay, I can hear me now.
Okay.
It was
All
fun.
right. Well, welcome. We are excited to have you guys join us. We have a great show for you. We have a young gentleman that's going to be in studio with us today. We love in-studio guests. We have Christopher Meyer. He is in studio. You might know him from Wayward Pines, and then he has 2 movies out called Kicks and Wolves. And you saw Kicks?
I saw Kicks at the LA Film Festival this year.
And so I can't wait. So I'm glad you saw the movie. And yeah. Well, I didn't go.
So,
I didn't go.
okay, private joke, private joke. So before we were on the air, Tony was like, "Have you seen the movie?" Like all panic. I'm like, "Yes, I seen the movie."
I just saw the trailer.
You see my face, right?
Where do I see it though? I didn't go to the LA Film Festival.
No, but it's gonna be. It'll be playing. It releases on September 9th.
Oh yeah, it's September 9th, so it's coming up.
It'll be in theaters on September 9th.
So I'm definitely gonna go with you. You're gonna take me as a date.
I'm not taking you.
You're gonna
I'm
take
not-
me?
No, I'm not taking
Okay.
you nowhere.
She's afraid to go with me. She don't want to see with me.
No, you'll be falling asleep. I'm like, really? I can't.
Just wake me and slap me in the face a couple times. I like that. It's been a long time since I've had some action. I know. All right.
Really?
Well, I haven't seen Carla in a week, so for me, I just want to say, I just worked, but I did take a drive this last weekend. I just went for a nice little drive, and I got to drive up north a little bit where all the fires were, and you know what I have to say, it was
I'm sure that
crazy
was not
to see.
cute.
No, it you know when you see it on the on the news and on TV and stuff, but
Right.
you don't think about until you actually see it live or what has the damage it's done and homes that's been burnt. Pretty dramatic, and I feel very, very, very sorry for some of these people that lost their
Yeah.
homes. So
I usually when I see them talking about fires on the news here in LA, I usually think it's very exaggerated because I remember one time I was supposed to be working on Will and Grace, and I flew back east to see my mother, and the fires.
say that again, my mother.
And when I
Mother.
was coming back, had just started as I left, and when I was
okay,
coming
yeah.
back, they had progressed and became worse. So I delayed coming back to hang out with my mom a little longer, and when I went to the airport, they had canceled my flight.
Oh wow!
And this was in the afternoon.
Is this because of smoke?
Because of the weather and the
Yeah.
stuff here. So I was like, okay, well, there's 4 other airports. Somebody's flying to LA.
They're like,
I know.
nope.
Nobody was flying to LA, and I was supposed to be on set the next day at 9 a.m.,
no.
and I was freaking out. And
Did you make it?
I didn't make it at 9 a.m., but I got there in time to tape the show.
Oh,
So I got to LA we started taping at noon. I got to LA around 11.
Oh, that's not
And I
bad.
had to go to the
Oh.
parking thing and get my car and then drive to CVS
Yep.
Radford. And my friend Megan was really gracious and got me a drive on and let me and had somebody move her car so I could park in her spot.
Save
I
some
literally drove on to CVS Radford. I was doing my makeup on the plane. I drove into CVS Radford. I pulled in. I threw my stuff in the dressing room. I changed my clothes into my wardrobe for the show. They took me down. They said, "You're gonna come here for the bow. This is your blocking for the scene." And we literally went. And I was like, "It's a good thing I knew what I was doing."
Yeah, because
'Cause
otherwise
that
you would have been could have been a disaster.
disastrous.
Yeah, it's like I said, in LA, it's you got your fires and then your earthquakes, but everywhere you live, something. You have the tornadoes back home, and even earthquakes in like around St. Louis. They have one of the biggest fault line is right there
In St. Louis, really?
right south, New Madrid.
Really?
You didn't know? You're from there. You
No, I
didn't
didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, we got tornadoes when I lived in St.
Yeah.
Louis. We never had an earthquake.
They said that was the biggest earthquake in American history was the New Madrid Fault right there just south of St. Louis. And they said it's due again because it was like a huge one. It actually changed the course of the Mississippi River back in the 1800s.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, you know your history, don't
I do.
you?
I do. I love me some history. So
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, so if it ever goes again, it's pretty much gone in that area. So
Thanks, Tony,
Yeah.
for that enlightening news.
the old saying is put your head between your legs and kiss your ass.
On another light note.
That is a light note, isn't it? We go to heaven.
You know what? I can't. On another light note, I just want to say that we lost somebody that was very near and dear to my heart this week. Willy Wonka, Gene Wilder.
I got to show a picture because
I loved me some Gene Wilder.
he was a genius. I mean,
he was Willy.
a
He'll
genius.
always be Willy Wonka to me.
Yeah.
But I really loved him in those films that he did with Gilda Radner, who was his wife at the time. That Haunted Honeymoon movie with him and Gilda Radner
Young
and Dom
Frankenstein.
DeLuise is. You know what? I never saw Young Frankenstein. I saw the
What?
musical. I never saw the movie.
No, you need to do that.
I know I do need to do that.
That
I never
is
saw
one of my
you.
favorites.
The only Mel Brooks movie that he did that I actually saw was Blazing Saddles.
Which is another
I didn't see Young
genius.
Frankenstein. I didn't see The Producers. I saw the musical The Producers, but I
Wow.
didn't see the film The Producers. And apparently, he was nominated for an Oscar for.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He was nominated for a Best Supporting Oscar for The Producers, and he was nominated for screenwriter for Young
Really?
Frankenstein. But he
See, I
never
didn't-
won an Oscar.
Definitely deserved one. I mean, he is a comic genius and a great actor. I mean, he just was.
He was
phenomenal.
wonderful. I loved him, and he passed away from Alzheimer's, and he purposefully kept it away from his fans because he didn't want his nephew or somebody close to him that was related said that he didn't want to disappoint his fans, and he didn't want to not bring a smile to anyone's face that loved him. So I was like, oh,
And
that's so to think that you are in a place where you're losing your memory and all you can think about are your fans. Like,
Right.
come on, who does that?
And that's another thing. I didn't know he got remarried after Gilda Radner, but
Yeah.
Gilda Radner
I didn't
was
know
his
that until
life.
yesterday
I mean,
either.
like I remember because after she died again, he kind of disappeared.
Well,
And
can you blame him? He was grieving.
Yeah.
He loved her.
Yeah, I mean, but
And what a horrible way for her to go,
what was the movie they did again?
Haunted Honeymoon. They did a couple of movies. They did about 3 or 4 movies
Yeah,
together.
well, I remember the one where because one of the films that she actually was fighting the cancer. I mean, I think it was ovarian cancer that she died.
She had
of.
ovarian cancer.
But they were in a plane and it was crashing or something like that. I'm trying to think
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, I have to go back.
I think that might have been, I didn't see it, but I think that might have been one of the last ones she did.
was.
And that film, actually, Richard Pryor was supposed to be in that film.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Stir
Richard Pryor.
Crazy, that's another one.
Yeah, him and Richard Pryor had a really fierce
Yeah.
collaboration. They did like 3 or 4 films together,
Yeah.
but he had written that part that you're speaking of. He wrote it for Richard Pryor, and Richard Pryor wasn't available, so he retailored it for Gilda.
Well, there was another one. Is it See No Evil, Hear No Evil? Where
That
one
was
was
with
blonde.
Richard and
I didn't
and
care for that. That
Jim.
was the only one I
Well,
didn't care for.
that was the most mediocre movie that they made.
Yeah.
And Richard was sick during that time.
Yeah, that's
he
when
he had just found out he had
Yeah.
MS.
Yeah.
So he was slurring his words, and he had lost a lot of weight, and people were like, "Ooh, what's wrong with
Yeah.
and they assumed that wrongly,
back
ironically
on
enough,
drugs again.
as huge as his drug use was, people assumed that's what
That's too
he
bad.
got sick from, and it was something that didn't have anything to do with any of that.
And it's sad to think of those two that ended up dying the way they did is Alzheimer's and MS.
I know,
You know,
right?
that's two of the comic legends. But they did such a great job and worked well together, and it was a joy to watch them. And I'm gonna have to go back and maybe this Labor Day weekend and do some rehashing of Gene Wilder movies.
I think I want to watch Haunted Honeymoon. That movie, it was corny as hell,
Yeah.
but it was really
they were
funny.
all corny, but
It was really funny though. But I think was it Stir Crazy? I think it was it was Silver
we
Streak.
bad. We
no,
bad.
no, the Silver Streak one where Gene Wilder put on blackface to pretend like he was black.
I don't remember. Let me look and see.
I think that was Silver Streak. But baby, every time I see that, it is hilarious because he's got this beanie cap on.
Here it is.
Yeah,
I
what's
just got a picture
what's really
of it
funny is whenever
people can
somebody
see it.
eulogized him when he passed away, nobody Not
even
one
look black.
person showed that picture.
Oh, really?
Not one outlet showed that picture, and it's
We
because
just did.
But we just did. But it's because of the times that we live in. Everybody's so super sensitive and hyper politically correct that I felt like.
Well, how can you? I mean, it's my thing. It's a part of history. So why can't you show
I know,
something?
but I didn't say they couldn't
No,
show it.
I know, but
I said that they didn't show it.
Well, I mean, when you look at that picture, you don't even look black. It's like a really
It's
bad
just
paint
wrong,
job.
but that it's supposed to look like that. He's got
Yeah.
shoe polish all over his
Yeah.
face, and to think that and I think that was in the 70s. In the 70s when he did that,
You can tell by the hat.
Yeah, I mean, right, that Afrocentric hat. In the 70s when he did that, nobody thought twice about it. They just
Not at all. Well,
they were like,
that's
"Oh, that's
Archie
funny."
Bunker, same thing as
Right. Nobody
that-
thought twice
yeah.
about it. But if they were to do that nowadays, oh my
Oh,
God,
my
their
God.
careers would be over.
They'd be shut down and everything else.
But that just speaks to their comic genius. They were funny. I
All
love
right.
them.
Well, we're going to take a break, and thank you for taking us on a memory of Gene Wilder.
Yes, I loved him, and
no.
it was hard. It was sad to see him go.
Yeah, it is. It's sad to see legends go, and he's one
And
of those.
we've had a huge,
Lot.
like the people that have gone in 2000, Gary Marshall,
Oh, I know. God.
Gene Wilder, like a plethora of people, Muhammad Ali, like,
But
Prince.
it's part of life. I mean, it's part of life, and
is,
we
but
don't like to see we always think of legends and people that are going to live on forever, and they do in their craft and the things that they've created.
Yeah.
But
And that's well said, because
Yeah.
at least we still have their work
Right.
to entertain us and put a smile on our face when we need it.
because
so.
there's many people that we have in our everyday life, all we have is memories and pictures. But now we have their
Yeah.
craft. So,
Cool.
all right.
Yay.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have our guest, Christopher Meyer, in studio. We're going to talk about 2 films of his, Kicks and Wolves. Carla got to see Kicks. We're also going to talk about him being on the 2nd season of Wayward Pines. And then there's other things that he's worked in NCIS, New Orleans, and tons of other things. So just a young, talented actor, and we're going to be right back on Air with Tony Sweet, right here on Universal Broadcasting Network. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Thank you very much for tuning in. Bye.
Oh.
Sometimes I wish I had a spaceship. Just hang out in space where it's quiet. And no one can mess with me. I'm from the East Bay. Those are my best friends. We do everything together.
Girl, can't you see me in the studio?
You in a closet with your fat ass.
Sometimes it feel like everybody cooler than me. Maybe because I'm small, can't play pickup, can't pull no girls, can't...
Hey! Will Smith's son looking little boy. Come here. These cost more than your life. Those is tight.
Hey, where'd you get your shoes?
Damn.
What up, boy? We got them shoes for you. Yo, let it go.
Hey, yo!
Whoa!
When you see Flacco, tell him I'm looking for him.
You ain't gonna do nothing.
Watch me.
It's my nephew. That's what you coming for.
Look, looking for Flacco.
You such a man now, gonna be a man. You got a problem, you gotta handle your business yourself.
You slide with us tonight, you'll run into him. What? You scared?
Chin up, chest out when it's flame time.
You got a gun now?
Can be a man if I let another claim mine.
I ain't dying for your shoes.
They crossed the line,
Maybe I was wrong about you.
they crossed the line. Sometimes I wish I could hang out in space where it's quiet.
5, 4, 3.
We are back with On Air with Tony Sweet, only on Universal Broadcasting Network.
All right, welcome to On Air with Tony Sweet. We're back, and we have our guest in studio. Just a handsome young man over there, Carla. Don't get your hands off of him. Look at her. I knew she was going to look at me like that. We have Christopher Meyer in the studio. Oh, look at the crowd. Just went crazy.
Meyer's live in the studio, people.
Wow.
Wave to my phone, Chris. He's in Kicks. Wayward Pines. Tune into ubnradio.com right now. Periscope peeps. Okay, bye-bye.
Periscope peeps. Well, we're so excited to have you in studio. This is going to be great because Carla got to see it at the LA Film Festival, Kicks. And we're going to hear her because she's a movie critic, you know. So,
and he's like, oh, he's
now
like, his eyes got big. He's like, oh, for real, though?
And I'm going to pull your, critiques up on your site just to make sure you're telling the truth. I'm just kidding.
I haven't done Kicks yet, but the only reason Kicks got on my radar is because in addition to being here, I freelance for NPR Radio. So NPR was really hyped about me seeing the film and reviewing it.
I think my director Justin is actually doing NPR today.
Nice.
Yeah, because they really, really, really love that film.
That's awesome.
They love that film.
Great.
Yeah. So before we were on the air, we were having this cute little conversation. We were talking about, so part of Kicks is this thing where the lead character, Brandon, has this thing where he's like, if I could just be in space and chill out. Can you explain that to me? Because every time a scene happened where Brandon was having a moment, it was kind of like, and this is way before your time, but there was this movie about Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee? I love Bruce Lee.
I was going to say, do you know who that is?
Yeah. So there was this autobiography about Bruce Lee, and every time Bruce Lee was having a flashback, there would be like this weird thing happening where he'd have like some battle, and I was like, okay, I don't understand what this is, but I'm gonna go with it. And it was the same thing. It was the same kind of feeling I had when I saw Kicks. Like the little moon man would come down in his little white suit, and I'm like, okay, I don't understand what this is, but I'm gonna go with it. So can you just break down what was up with the Moon Man?
Well, I feel like the Moon Man is a representation of a lot of things. I feel like everybody can have their own interpretation of it, but for me, and I think the general meaning of it is the Moon Man is his conscience, and
see how stereo we are.
Yeah. So it's basically leading him in a way that he thinks he wants to go.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's kind of deep, and I'll go with that.
Now, when you write it, now you have a whole new perspective.
Now, when I write it, I have a whole new perspective because I truly said, I don't know what's up with the Moon Man, but I'm going to go with it. I truly wrote that.
We knew that was going to throw people off. But I actually that's my favorite part about the movie is that it has the Moon Man in it. Like, it's just different.
And this was Justin's first film, right?
First feature, yeah.
First feature film.
He's done a bunch of, like, shorts before. He has this one short called Nani, which is, like, how he kind of got recognition. But yeah, this is his first feature film, my first feature film too. So
yay,
congratulations.
Thank you, bless.
So one other thing about Kicks, have you ever been in a situation where you were like, you just had to have that latest pair of sneaks? Have you ever been that dude?
I have.
At least he admits it.
I am guilty. But I can tell you, I've never stood in line though. Oh, that's crazy because they get there like 3 a.m. in the morning the day before. I've never stood in line before, but I have begged my parents for it. I mean,
he said,
so
I begged
my parents went and stood in line.
So my parents got them, but I begged my parents for them. You should check out this documentary. It's called Sneakerheads, and it talks about how all over the world, how huge the sneaker culture is.
Yeah.
Like to the point where back in the day, before we had the internet and you could just go click, click, click and get a pair sent to you via Amazon.
Right.
Via an Amazon Droid, back in the day, people literally would fly over here from like Japan, Germany, all these different countries just to get the latest pair of Air Jordans.
I don't remember that.
I wish it was still like that. That would be so cool. Why not?
Well, they make it worth it.
Yeah, make it. That's
now
what I'm
it's just like click, and you're like,
click. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, doing this movie has actually opened my eyes to how big the sneaker culture is. Like, it's funny because I'll read a whole bunch of comments on Twitter, and it's like, oh, it's a movie about shoes, and like they don't even know like there is a whole world
culture.
Out there.
It's
there's
intense.
a whole culture and they are serious about their sneakers.
It's very intense.
Well, actually, what you just said reminds me of Devil Wears Prada. Remember when she snickered about the belt?
Yeah.
And she went through this whole spiel about, and you're like, oh.
now you
makes sense.
get it. Yeah,
That's hilarious.
That's literally how it's been.
So let's talk about your character in Kicks. You're
Rico.
Brandon's best friend, Rico. Yes.
AKA Rico
Suave.
Suave. That's what I base his character off of.
Oh, really?
Modern day young Rico Suave. I mean, everything comes easy to Rico, whether it be girls, whether it be sports, school. He might not even do his homework, but he
like me.
got straight A's.
Other than popularity,
Pretty much.
Which is the total antithesis of Brandon, because Brandon,
exactly.
At one point they say he looks like Will Smith's son.
Yeah.
Like, it's just wrong. They just clown him all the time
Yeah.
because he looks like he's a pretty little boy. He looks like a little girl. He's got
when
all
I
this
first
curly
looked
hair.
at it, I was like, oh.
Is that a girl?
Oh, it's a girl. And I was like, oh, no.
I get asked that all the time.
Do you?
Yeah, and I'm just like,
Well, I'm not gonna lie. When I was watching the movie, I'm like, why they got this movie about a girl? Oh, okay, it's a dude. Okay, all right, that makes more
he would
sense.
be so hurt if he was here.
I
right
know.
now. He would
No,
be
he
sorry.
wouldn't. No, because I wouldn't
Shouts out
clown.
to Ja.
I wouldn't clown him like that. But I'm like, come on, he did. But he did. But he got his little. Okay, so the one scene I want to ask you about is the scene where y'all broke into that house to get the sneaks back.
Yeah, in the Flocker's
Rico.
house. Yeah.
So let me just fill you in, Tony.
Okay.
So what happens is Brandon gets jacked for his sneaks. He finds out who the dude was that jacked his sneaks, and he goes through this whole elaborate plan to go get him back. That's basically like
And he drags us.
and he drags his friends with him, and his
Never
friends
listen
are
to the
like,
friends
you
like
know,
that.
by default.
Yeah,
and
right?
his friends are like, really over some sneaks, dude? Come on. But they kind of go along with him because that's his dude,
That's
and they
him.
spend it's like a whole day.
Yeah, one whole entire day searching for these shoes, and at the end of the day, I don't. Some crazy stuff happens. I
Yeah.
can't say too
Don't say,
much.
yeah.
I
we
won't
gotta-
say too much, but
Yeah.
there was this scene, and it's not funny, but there was a scene where they
She's
it's
laughing
not.
now.
I am
know.
laughing.
She's laughing
I'm
as she
laughing,
tells
but it's
it.
not funny. So they break into the house of the dude, and the dude has a son, and the son is sitting on the floor, doing whatever he's
know what you're about
doing.
to
You
say.
know what I'm talking about?
And then, yeah.
And then some really funky stuff pops off. So what was going off in your head filming that scene? Because there was the potential for some things to go terribly awry in that moment.
Right. What was Christopher thinking and what was Rico thinking?
Rico.
Rico was like, we got to get out right now. Like, forget the shoes, forget everything. There is a crazy man looking for us, and we can die right now. So, I just wanted us all to be safe, and I'm trying not to give too much away, but my main focus was just getting everybody out safe. Out of the trio, I'm kind of like the big bro, the one they kind of look up to. So my mindset was just like, if one of these guys get hurt, their parents gonna come and look at me,
Right?
Because I'm the big
you
bro.
the big brother.
Yeah.
And let's talk about you and Brandon had a huge fight at one point. Huge fight. Have you ever had in a fight where you know how you have a best friend and y'all just get into it and it seemed like it's
All
like the end of
time.
the world?
I still do.
So have you ever had that happen with one of your friends?
It's so funny. I have my best friend. His name is Jason. We live together. We don't get into many fights, but when we do,
It's a good one, huh?
over. It's a good one, but it's over something very small. Like, that's how we are. We'll never fight about something big. We'll talk that out. But for some reason, there'll be so much tension. It'll be over something small. Like, the last time we got into an argument was over the dishes.
Over who not doing them?
Yeah, over the dishes, because
Who ended up doing them?
well, me, because I always end up doing it. But it's because my dad, he goes crazy every time he comes home and there's dishes, and they're not my dishes. So I basically paused what he was watching to tell him to go wash the
Lord.
dishes, and he went crazy.
He
Was it
lost
like
his
football or
mind.
something?
Yeah, it was a wrestling match.
Okay,
So-
so yeah, you don't touch certain people's
Yeah.
remote when it's sports.
Exactly. it was wild, but no, nothing crazy.
Okay. All right. Well, let's switch gears and talk a little bit about Wayward Pines.
Yes.
So, for those of you listening or watching, Wayward Pines is what network is it on?
Fox.
A new show on Fox that stars Terrence Howard from Empire. So Terrence Howard is doing double duty on Empire and Wayward Pines.
He's a
yeah.
hardworking man, that guy.
So tell us about your role in that show.
I play Mario, and I am captain of all military operations.
All right. Captain's for captain, yeah.
Exactly. A very straightforward, straight arrow. I follow only one guy really, my boss, whose name is Jason, on the show, and pretty much anything he says, I do, whether it be good or bad. You might hate me, you might love me. I hope that you actually don't like me, because that's what I wanted. But I mean, he's just a cold-blooded dude. That's all I have to say, really.
And tell us what the premise is of the show for those who haven't seen it yet. And it's going into its second season, right?
Yeah, no,
we
just
started,
did
right?
the second
You
season.
just third season.
Yeah, third
okay,
season.
I'm behind one season. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, I don't want to say it's not post-apocalyptic, but it's like the world's resources were running dry. One man realized this and took it upon himself to get a group of a couple thousand people and put them into hibernation, which is obviously a crazy decision to make, but to preserve human life, he had to. So we go into hibernation for 2,000 years.
Oh, wow.
And while we're in hibernation, the circle of life creates things, and while humans were gone, these things called the aberrations took place of humans, and they look like humans, but they're just a lot uglier, and they're not.
Why are you looking
hilarious.
at me?
Well,
hey,
if the aberration fits,
I'm gonna have
so
to turn
much
your mic
shade.
off.
So much shade. So
we actually like each other.
Oh yeah,
we
is that
do.
right? Okay.
Or I
say
would not be sitting here.
That love-hate relationship.
yeah, that's right.
see.
I don't turn her sports off either. Okay?
I don't even watch sports. Stop interrupting that boy.
sorry.
Go ahead,
You go for it.
Christopher.
You go ahead.
Good. I'll talk about that all day. Just I have a therapy session with you guys. But basically, after 2,000 years, we wake up, and these aberrations now have taken the place of humans. And so to them, it's kind of like we're intruding, but to us, they're intruding. So I don't, just know.
I haven't watched it. I'm gonna write that down and watch that one because that sounds good to me.
It's serious.
That's my kind of thing. So I always go back to find out where you kind of start. Your passion. Where did your passion start for acting? And where were you born? First of all,
I was born in Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah. Where's your accent?
Not
she was born in St. Louis, and she still has a New York accent.
I know. I lived in Harlem.
Oh, really? Yeah.
For a long time.
I mean, my accent is non-existent because for the first 5 years of my life, I didn't even speak English. My first language was French.
Oh, wow.
So that happened.
Smell you.
Oui. So I never had a New York accent, and then I moved to South Florida when I was like 8, 9. So that accent didn't have enough time to surface.
Okay.
But first, what was the question?
When did your passion for acting or wanting to be in the arts start kicking in?
I did a play for my church.
Oh, really?
In South Florida, yeah, called Winter's Church, and it was The King is Coming to Town, basically, Jesus' arrival. And I just, it wasn't like an audition process because they're not going to make kids at the church audition for a play. So they just kind of
they just kind of throw you in it.
Yeah, right.
But they just so happened to give me the biggest role. Like they gave, not the biggest role, but the role with the most lines.
Right.
So, I mean, I'd always been a class clown. I'd always been a jokester. My mom always used to say, like, you're either going to be a lawyer or an actor because all you do is talk. So.
Alrighty then. And mom just kept you.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. So I just remember, well, I actually don't remember. My mom tells me this. The first time I got off stage to do the play, I went up to my mom. And mind you, I'm like 10 or 11 years old. And I go up to her and I'm like, Mom, I know what I want to do with my life. And she's looking at me like, 10 years old, what do you want to do with your life? I was like, I want to be an actor. And she was just like, yeah, whatever.
Oh, no. yeah, whatever.
She was just like, okay, well, this is gonna fade.
She was so exasperated by it all.
Exactly. But I started taking initiative. I looked up schools for the arts, and I actually ended up going to a middle school for the arts for 3 years called Bach Middle School of the Arts, and I found it on my own. I went and did the orientation.
Oh, you were serious.
I was serious.
You were dead serious. Wow.
I don't know. I caught the bug, and I caught it hard, and it was just like from now on.
Clearly.
Yeah, and I have to also give a lot of ode to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air because I remember Will saying funny things, and I'd pause the TV and then go to the mirror and like practice it over and over and over.
Oh, that's so cute.
That is, wow.
I think that's the first time I remember where I was just like, I want to act.
You should try to reach out to bro, man. Let him know.
Well, oh, I mean, eventually I'll tell him that for sure.
You guys are going to work together. I can see that already.
Yeah, God willing. Let's put that into the universe.
Into the
That's
ether.
Yeah.
So from that point, you went to 3 years to a school.
Yeah.
And because you're 19.
I'm 19.
19. So I mean that's not
you're
too
a
long
baby.
ago.
I'm
To
a
us,
baby.
that's just like a blink. So
Oh, word?
yeah. So from that point, going into high school, how did you get your first, I guess, break or first opportunity to take it to the next level?
Well, yeah, from one of the shows that I did at my 3 years at the school, I met my manager. He came to, who's still my agent to the day, Nick Roses.
Nice.
And so, he was nagging us to come out to LA. You have to make the move. Eventually, we were kind of like, because we were going back and forth between Florida and LA for callbacks and stuff like that, and we had spent like $2,000-$3,000 on plane fare. So we were just like, we can't keep doing this. Might
That's a lot.
Might as well just make the move. So we ended up doing that. And as soon as I touched down, it was audition after audition after audition. I just got thrown into this lifestyle. And it was like crazy because I was 13 and I was young and I was like, it's a new place. But my first big break was General Hospital. First time I ever acted on TV. Which is awesome because my mom has been watching that show for like
she was
20
like,
years.
That's my baby.
Yeah,
My friend
exactly.
Sonia's on that show. Sonia Eddy. She
What?
plays Epiphany.
She's somebody's wife?
She's the only black person on that show.
Yeah.
The only black
Does
person.
she play somebody named TJ's mom? Is that because that?
No, that's the other chick.
Okay.
You were TJ?
I was TJ.
Oh, okay.
I was the
I was
OG
like,
TJ.
wait a
That
minute
would've
now.
been-
I watch General Hospital every
Yeah.
day. Like, what's up? What's up?
I was the first TJ.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, why he look familiar? That's why.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, well, shouts out to all my General Hospital fans.
Right? GH in the head.
Oh, those soap opera fans, they're
They're
dedicated.
So
Oh my God. We're going to have somebody from GH.
When?
Oh, I'm working on that
Oh,
date.
okay.
But
Don't
her
be
name is
teasing me. I started sweating for a
her
second.
name is Rebecca Buddick, and she used to be on All My Children. But I digress. But back to you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was my first big break, which was awesome because soap operas are
Huge.
They're huge, and they're a lot like
It's like
theater.
a master class too,
Yeah.
because it's like constant.
And that's what I was
They
going to
work
say.
really fast.
That there were times where like I would wake up in the morning and have maybe 5 lines in the whole episode, and then now I have 5 paragraphs, and you got to learn it like that. And then you work so hard to learn that paragraph, and then they get one take, and they're like, all right, moving on. And it's like, whoa.
You're like, what?
Yeah, they don't play.
I
There's
can't
no,
remember phone numbers.
It's like
let alone-
it's like theater. It's really
Yeah.
kind of no do overs. Or a lot of times back in the day when I used to do soaps, they used to tape the rehearsals.
Yep.
So they
Really?
would say,
Just
yeah.
in case they got a.
Just in case they got something great.
Just in case they got something great, they would tape the rehearsals, and if them taping the rehearsal was fierce, they would go, "Yep, moving on." And
Yeah,
you're like,
straight up. Like, wait.
was
Wasn't that
rehearsal.
rehearsal? Yeah, exactly.
You're like, well, damn, can't I do that again?
Yeah.
There was this one line.
I
They're
know I
like,
can do
nope,
it better.
sorry.
Yeah.
Because they shoot like 100 pages or something sometimes in a day.
100 pages in a day. For anybody that's in the film industry, you know that's
That's
like
a lot.
ridiculous.
Yeah, we've interviewed a lot of soap opera stars,
Yeah.
and they've all said that was probably the best thing that happened to them. Not just because a lot of people, they stick with soap operas all their life.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when they go to TV film, that's like cake.
It's a piece of cake.
It's a piece of cake.
So for that being my first experience, it taught me so much, and it really did prepare me for everything I'm going through right now. So
So
Okay,
how
but
long?
wait,
Oh, go ahead.
I just because GH
No,
is my
go
show.
ahead.
Go ahead, girl.
So
She's like, I
Go
didn't
ahead.
catch up.
your character was involved with Molly for a minute, right?
Yeah,
So y'all did you have your first kiss with her?
my first kiss
With Molly
on the show.
on the show?
Yeah.
So up until that point, had you kissed a girl?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind.
Why?
Because I was going to ask you, what was it like to have your first kiss on
On
TV, but you
camera.
didn't. But
You know what though? Fun fact about kicks. There is a part where Brandon kisses a girl, and that was his first kiss ever, and it was on camera. And it's funny because he lied about it when we did it, because it's a little nerve-wracking having your first kiss and telling people. But he just told us a couple weeks ago, and we was just like,
and so y'all could clown him after the fact,
You
but he
know.
didn't tell you
I'm
why
not
you
going to
was
show
shooting.
this, but is that the first kiss?
Oh boy! Wow. Where did you find that?
I found it online.
It's the internet, dude.
Jesus.
Look at that.
Christ.
Is that the kiss?
That is the kiss.
Wow.
Look at you all shy and embarrassed. Ooh, that's funny.
Crazy. Shouts out to Haley. I love you, Haley.
Aw.
Man,
Young
that's
love.
wild. It's not, I guess, too weird to older people, but like I was 15 and she was 13, and so for me it was
weird,
you know, because she was 2 years younger
So
than me.
tell us, how exactly did you feel about that other than it being weird? You were just like, dang, I gotta kiss somebody that's 13?
Yeah, I mean, she was a very pretty girl, so it wasn't too hard. It was just like
You're like, it wasn't like she was a troll.
Right, yeah, it's not that right. Yeah. I have nothing to say about that. But yeah, it was just a little awkward. But I got through it because then we had to do it like 8 times. So it was like,
oh, so they didn't tape that one time.
messed up on purpose.
So they didn't tape that one time. They were like, yeah, let's do that one again. And y'all like, oh.
See, when they get me on screen with Halle Berry, then I'm a mess up.
Right.
4 times.
Sorry. I didn't mean to.
My bad.
Take again.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Let's run that back. I didn't feel too confident about that.
So how long were you on? Were you on?
I was on
GH?
8 months.
8
I did
months.
like 20 something episodes.
Wow, that's great.
Because it was recurring. It wasn't every episode. But
So when you left that, and what did you want to focus on more after
well,
that?
I actually left because I got another opportunity to do a Nickelodeon pilot, which
Nice.
at the time was always my dream because, you know, I grew up watching Nickelodeon and
Right.
I love Nickelodeon. So I was like,
Right.
man, this is... So I did a pilot with Dan Snyder, who was...
I know Dan Snyder.
Dan the man. I
Yeah,
love
Dan the man.
Yeah, he's a big kid, that guy. A big kid.
He does a lot of shows on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, he's so the show was called Gibby, and it was a spin-off
Gibby?
of it was a spin-off of iCarly. So that was dream come true. Pilot didn't get picked up, but you know, that's the business.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, I'm happy because I probably would have been on GH for like 3 more years and not been able to do all the stuff that I've been doing.
That's
So
true.
It happened for a reason.
Yeah, you
pretty
get
much.
locked into those contracts. And
Oh,
Dan
yeah.
Snyder is like, he's like the Shonda Rhimes of Nickelodeon.
Yeah,
really?
It's
Seriously.
hilarious, like straight up.
Half of all their successful shows is
Dan Schneider.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so from that point, when did you start working with wanting to get more films? I mean, were you always working to get films?
I always wanted to get more film. It just never like happened. The thing was, I've been this size, like this build, since I was
Yeah, you look
15,
young,
16.
so-
Yeah, I look young in the face, but I'm 5'11" and 165 pounds, and I've been this way since I was 15.
Oh, wow.
So I would go out for older roles because I was that, you know, that build.
But you had that baby face.
I had the baby face, and I wasn't legal 18, which means you can only work like 8 hours a day or
Yep,
something.
you can work 8 hours a
Yeah.
day, and then after that, they get penalized.
Movies don't like that, so
Right.
I didn't get a lot of movie work until I got my diploma at 17 and graduated high school. That's when I started picking
Popping
up.
off.
Yeah.
How did you? I know you said your manager is Nick Roses.
Yeah, Nick Roses.
I know Nick.
Yeah.
So how did you and Nick meet?
In Florida, when so his assistant went to one of my shows, and his assistant was like, "Gotta see this kid. He's awesome. Meet him." And apparently he was having like a casting call, just I guess searching for talent. And I was like, "Why not? You know, why not?" I went, auditioned, got a call back. Came the next day, auditioned again, and met my parents. We went out for dinner. Signed to Nick.
Oh,
Nick-
that's
Wow.
nice
Yeah.
that he met with your parents and stuff.
Oh man, they talk more than me and Nick talk. He calls my mom auntie, so it's just like
Well, tell him I said what's up and give him a hug for me.
I will for sure, for sure.
Well, because of time, we're running out of time. But I want to ask to get into some of how you got the actual films. So audition, were it was something that you just your agent called and said, "Hey, here's an audition we have."
Well,
tell us the process of how you got the
Kicks.
first Kicks
Yeah.
and then Wolves.
Wolves, yeah. Before Kicks, I had just signed on with a new manager. Nick went from managing to being my agent, and so he was just like, "We should sign on with a manager too to get things rolling even more." And I signed with Link Entertainment with Matt Shelton, and he sat down and for the first time somebody asked me like,
What do
"Hey
you
Chris, what do you want to do? Like, what projects do you want to do?" And I had been very much influenced by movies like Juice and Boys in the Hood and stuff like that. So I had expressed that. Literally a week later, Kix comes across his desk and he's just like, what you asked for is right here. So he sent the script over. I read it and I immediately fell in love. And I was just like, all right, we gotta, whatever we gotta do, whoever we have to call, let's make this happen. So I go to the first initial audition, which is actually held at John Singleton's office. Fun fact, which is the director of Boys in the Hood. Mm-hmm. A little weird. Not weird.
That's called serendipitous, babe.
That's the universe, So I killed that audition. I did really good. They called me back for a chemistry read. And ironically, I go in with Ja King and CJ, and we all auditioned together.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's funny. It was a connection that we had that wasn't even like, oh, I hope you get it. It was just like, I just got their numbers just because they were cool people, and we all ended up getting it together, which was
great.
Crazy. Justin was in the audition, Justin Tippin, the director, but I didn't know who he was because he was so quiet, and he's so young. He's 30, 31, I think, and he had like this jean jacket on, and he was just sitting there, and I didn't know who he was at first. I was like, it can't be the director, but...
It was.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, I'm looking at who do you think you relate to more, Rico, Mario?
Rico.
Rico?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I'm not
Mario.
killing people.
Well, besides the killing, but
right. Yeah, definitely Rico. I think growing up in Brooklyn and South Florida, I've met many people like Rico. Young, full of energy, loves girls, stuff like, class clown.
Why you look at me talking about loves girls? Get them little big eyes over there somewhere else.
I do that all the time. I stop looking at her because she gets mad at me.
Yeah.
I did not get mad at you. Stop saying that. I am not the angry black woman, people.
I didn't say it.
Yeah, you said it. He didn't say it.
Anywho.
Yeah, but definitely Rico, for sure.
Well, like I said, I can't wait to see it. I have not seen it. I'm glad Carla had a chance to see it. September 9th.
September 9th.
Releasing.
And for those who are listening in LA that don't have anything to do tomorrow at 7:30, we are having a special screening at the LACMA Museum.
Oh, I'm going to write that down.
It's free. So you just go online, look for it. It's on my Twitter. If you follow me at Chris Meyer BK, you could get the link, and it's totally free. There's a Q&A. I want to meet everybody, see how you guys felt about it and everything.
And how before we go to Carla, because we have Carla Renata Corna here in just a second, but how do you feel with the fans? I mean, the fans, they seem to always put the gasoline in that's the gasoline into the actors and actresses mojo. So how do you feel of getting to see the results of your craft through the eyes of your fans?
Yeah, it's been amazing. So I went to Tribeca and LA Film Festival first. That's where I first saw the movie for the first 2 times. And those events are a lot more industry based. So there were a lot of, executives there, producers, casting directors. And watching it with them is cool. It's fun,
But
technically that's not who we made it for. We made it for the culture. We made it for the youth. We made it for, young black people. And so for the first time, I went to LA Film School, which is in Hollywood, and they had this group of kids from the Watts Center. They were like
nice.
10, 12-year-old kids and all the college students, and we watched it with them. And that was the first time, I was looking around like, oh, my God, they're going crazy. Because, at Tribeca, they would laugh, and it's funny, but, you could see the kids really getting into it, and they're like, oh!
Because they understand the culture.
Exactly. So, that experience really hit me because it was just that was the first time I really said wow, look at what we did. That's crazy. And then, I got to talk to the kids from Watts, and they asked a bunch of really deep questions, which I was very surprised.
What were some of the questions you don't mind sharing?
What my meaning of masculinity is.
Ooh, that's deep.
Just, I mean, yeah,
I'm like, little kids asking that.
I was going to say 10, 15 years ago, that would have never came out of their mouths.
I mean, I'm sure they had, help from their teachers, what to ask and stuff like that, but they were interested. And that also was, first time I realized how much responsibility as an actor that I have, or just a figure, that I could answer this question and I could say the worst answer ever, and that kid is going to take it like gold. So that was the first time where I was like, wow, I got some type of responsibility.
Some clout.
Yeah, some clout.
Going on.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that experience was awesome. And I also went to USC last night and talked to the college kids there, and they had super intellectual questions. There was this one dude who like went off for like 10 minutes asking a question, and after he ended it, we all just looked at him and we were just like, well, you pretty much answered it yourself. Because we didn't know how to
can't even touch it.
Oops. Yeah.
I've been like, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking?
That's
But the
hilarious.
response has been across the board awesome. I mean, people who I don't expect to, even know about that world enjoyed it, loved it, asked questions. And my hope is that it just brings up a discussion, or that, there is talk about the violence and masculinity and what it means to really be a man, and stuff like that.
Is this going to be in select theaters or nationwide?
Limited theaters nationwide.
Limited release.
Okay,
limited release nationwide though.
Well, September 9th, it's going to
September
be
9th.
in theaters, and also Wayward Pines is preparing for their third season.
Yes, right now.
Do you know when the release date of that is yet?
I have no idea.
Probably not yet.
They tell me nothing.
When does Wolves come out?
Wolves, I actually don't know what's going on with Wolves. I think we're still going through the circuit with it. We went to Tribeca, and they went to another film festival. I forgot what it was. I couldn't attend though. But I think we're still trying to run it through the circuit right now, get distributors, that whole
movie.
That whole game.
That whole movie process is crazy.
Anything else you have coming up? TV, films?
Yeah, I'm working on music.
What?
I rap. So I'm.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
What?
I have a mixtape coming out sometime in this fall called Wolf Tape. I'm working on the skits for it tomorrow. I'm very excited. So it's gonna have like
Yay.
interludes and like.
You're gonna have to come back and do some rap for us.
Oh, for sure.
Carlo join.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hyping the cypher.
I am so not a rapper.
Oh, okay.
I'll drop the beat right now.
You drop the beat. I'll be like, off the beat. It's just not my thing.
Well,
Yeah.
Christopher, thank you so much. You can go to his Twitter. It's Chris Meyer BK. And do you,
Brooklyn,
do you have Instagram or
Yes,
anything?
just Christopher Meyer.
Just Christopher Meyer.
That's that.
All right. Well, if you don't mind sticking around just for a few minutes, we're going to do Carla Renaud's Corner.
Live on Universal Broadcast Network. It's Carla's Corner.
You like that, Chris
Carla's
Meyer?
Corner. Carla's Corner. Hey.
Okay, you're hilarious. So I just wanted to give, again, a shout out to Gene Wilder, who passed away this week from Alzheimer's. For those of you not of my generation, he was Willy Wonka to me. Loved him, loved him, loved him. He had lots of partnerships with Richard Pryor and his wife, Gilda Radner, before she passed away from ovarian cancer. So rest in peace, Willy Wonka. We'll miss you.
R.I.P. man.
And the new film that's coming out this week, this Friday, is called The Light Between Oceans. It's based on an M.L. Stedman novel, and it's a love story. Now, when I saw The Light Between Oceans, I was like, okay, why the title The Light Between Oceans? Now, I read the book, and it had been a minute, so I figured out that the light meant not only the light from the lighthouse, but the light that was being brought into this new couple's life after they'd lost their baby. So, having said that, it stars Michael Fassbender, who y'all might know from being an Academy Award nominee for 12 Years a Slave and Steve Jobs, and Alicia Vikander, who won the Oscar last year for The Danish Girl. Now, I love Alicia Vikander, but I'm going to need her to be in a movie without crying all the time. I'm just going to need you to do a film without breaking into tears. Michael Fassbender is giving you that heroic husband, that man that doesn't know how to say no to his wife because he just loves her so dearly. And Rachel Weisz, who's an Oscar winner, I forget what film she won the Oscar for, which is so wrong for me to say, but oops. But she's an Oscar winner. It was in a film with Russell Crowe that she won. Brilliant Mind. There you go. Yeah. So anyway, she won an Oscar for that, but she is the catalyst in this film. She plays the mother of the baby that they find that's not theirs, that they end up taking on as their own. And it creates a whole lot of drama. But I will tell you this, those three people are bringing it 305,000 times, honey, for that film. They are giving it to you. It is a wonderful love story. Their performances are great, other than Alicia crying every 2 seconds. And it's based on It's based on the M.L. Stedman novel. So if you are one of those people that likes to read the novels before you see the film, check out the novel The Light Between Oceans. It's a Disney Touchstone Pictures film. It is released this Friday, September 2nd. Next week, I will be talking about Kicks.
Hey.
Yay! That I saw during the summer at the LA Film Festival. This is Carla Renata, your curvy film critic. See you next week. Love, peace, and hair grease. Bye.
All right. Well, that's that.
I love that.
I stole that from him.
Well, I stole it from RuPaul, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Just stealing all over the place.
I'm sure he stole it from somebody else.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
All right. It's our time to say goodbye to all our company. Yes. So we're out of here. Thank you, Chris, for joining us, and I hope you come back.
Yes, I will, man, for sure.
All right. Well, definitely, Carla, I'll see you next week.
Yep.
See you guys on Friday for Truth Be Told with Tony and Eddie. We have a great show. Go to honorwithtonysweet.com. Check out our upcoming guests. We have some great guests coming up in September, and we want to thank you guys for joining us.
One love.
Right. One love. I love that song. All right. We're out of here. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
This has been On Air with Tony Sweet. Don't worry, there's more online. Search On Air with Tony Sweet on iTunes for past shows and exclusive behind-the-scenes content. On Air with Tony Sweet every Wednesday and Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific, right here on ubnradio.com.